My name is Jassiem Renfro. I'm a senior now at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, studying accounting and information systems. I've been in Enactus for the past 4 years, so like it's been a full circle experience right now. It's been a great a life-changing experience actually. I actually, even before I was in college, I was still looking at different schools, and I went to like a Meet the Deans kind of event for the University of Illinois. And this girl that I met was like, "Yeah, I'm in this organization called Enactus. We all use kind of our different skills from our majors to kind of create social change through social entrepreneurship." And that right away, like I was like very much, you know, socially minded at that point, but I knew I was going into the college business, and I didn't really know how I was gonna like merge those two fields, you know? And that immediately sparked my interest. And so when I got on campus, I was assigned a mentor actually who was also an activist, just randomly, like very like serendipitous, but she was like, "You should definitely get involved." And so I went through our whole recruiting process, and then I was in, and I loved it from the second I was in, and to this day, 4 years later. So I think I'm fortunate that I joined at a time where it was like becoming this very like well functioning machine. Like I think the year that I joined, we had just incorporated Illinois Enactus as a 501c3 nonprofit. So it was like a new kind of territory, but it really kind of helped us access more grant opportunities to kind of get the startup funds for our projects, which I thought was a huge change that has like made a huge change on our organization. But then over time, I feel like our membership has definitely changed because our brand on campus, at the time I joined, it was becoming a very strong organization, like RSO, in the Geese College of Business, what's now the Geese College of Business. But as time went on, we kind of realized that we didn't necessarily have all of the skills and perspectives that we needed for our projects to be as successful as they needed to be. So we started to branch out to other colleges. We always had like a diverse range of majors, but at this point, we have a strong campus and community brand. Like people, like other nonprofits in the community really kind of know who we are across all colleges, College of Engineering, Fine and Applied Arts, College of Business, Liberal Arts and Sciences. I think we have over 30 different combinations of majors across our membership. And it's just really cool to see like everyone bringing these unique skills that they have from their own backgrounds and really kind of like bringing that unique thing to the social impact, to the social entrepreneurship that we do. So I think like the membership aspect is like the biggest change, but there's been small like organizational changes obviously that we've seen over time. But I'm glad to say that through all of that, it's just been upward kind of improvement. I mean, I just takes up like a pretty great deal of my time, but I've also been involved in an organization called Illinois Business Consulting. It's one of the nation's largest student-run, fee-based consulting organizations, and that was a really cool experience because I was more on the operational side, kind of like doing more of like the HR processes and like organizational structure, stuff like that. And a lot of the stuff I learned in Enactus, I carried over to that, and I also learned a lot in that organization I carried over to Enactus. So it's like cool kind of cross function there. So I think one of the big things at our school is like the recruitment aspect of it, because we like really like have a rigorous recruitment process. There's 3 stages, like 2 rounds of interviews. There's like criteria. It's like we look at your passion, we look at your like leadership ability and your capabilities, and we look at your entrepreneurial and business acumen. Um, and we have like specific criteria to kind of compare people evenly, but we get like over 100 applicants and only take like 12 to 15 people. So it's kind of like a really thorough process that we go into choosing who we want to work with. And I think that that kind of builds this like really strong culture. So we have a pretty like high retention rate. Like it's pretty like competitive to get in, and not many people leave. So like there's a lot of consistency over the time that you're in Enactus. And then with the new member program, we've always had like a curriculum that's developed every semester, um, focused on entrepreneurship using the Enactus project model of like need, input, output, outcome, teaching you what those things are. Um, But one thing that we noticed is that things that we weren't really teaching in the new member program, we would see later on, like those things were missing in our projects. Like you kind of have to, it's a lot of Enactus is always, in entrepreneurship in general, is learning by doing. But as much as we can, we kind of realize that, okay, maybe we need to start putting this stuff in the very foundation. Like if I learned this in my year one, as a senior now, I know like what I would have liked to know as a freshman. So if I can put this into this like new curriculum, it's a 12-week program that we developed. How would that change in 8 semesters? So I'm very excited to see, because we kind of just did this semester. Me and my co-new member, Dr. Krupa Patel, we developed, so we start off talking about what is Enactus, kind of giving the background, where we came from, SIFE, so where it is now, and just how our organization structure is, like what are the different things you need to know. Then we go into like a product associate bootcamp, we call it. It's basically teaching them how to operate on projects. Then we teach them like different types of work streams, like what is marketing? What does that entail? It's not just like it's just not posting an ad every now and then on Instagram. It's like actually a process. Like what does operations look like? So we kind of go through that for a week. And then we talk about what is social entrepreneurship, because it's kind of a complex topic that doesn't really come naturally to like a lot of people. A lot of people can think it's like social services or social advocacy, but we want to really kind of focus in on the entrepreneurship aspect of social impact. And then we talk about social issues and how to analyze them, how to critically think about them, like their root causes versus like just symptoms. We talk about savior complexes and like how we don't want to create this hierarchical relationship between people in the community and ourselves, because we need to recognize that we're students, we come from a place of privilege, and a lot of people know a lot more than us, even though they might be in a different situation or circumstance. And then in the 5th week, we talk about, I'm sorry, I'm just like walking me through it, but.
No, please, it's great, go ahead.
Yeah, in the 5th week, we talk about researching social issues. So it's one thing to like know about how to think about them, but then how do you actually go into the community and understand them? And how do you use, primary and secondary research? Because a lot of times people coming in as freshmen may not have like all of that knowledge that you kind of develop throughout college. Week 6, we talk about market research. So like week 6 through 8, I think gets into the more business kind of technical side. So we talked about market research, which is an intense thing, where we kind of explain like how to create a survey, how to understand demand, and stuff like that. And then week 7, we talk about financial sustainability, basic accounting concepts, and like just basic business stuff. And then throughout this whole time, which I forgot to mention, at the end of the new member program, there's a capstone, right? And that's where the source of a lot of our new projects come from. So throughout the 12 weeks, you're developing a project while you're applying the things that you're learning to what is potentially one of our future Enactus projects for our project portfolio. And I think it's really cool because you get to, as a new member, apply the things that you're learning, and then you get to potentially see the thing that you created become like something that everyone works on in our organization. And I think that really creates a lot of buy-in, and it also kind of helps with retention. It's like I'm creating something I'm passionate about, and then I get to see that thing flourish. So it's a very rigorous semester, and I mean props to all the new members, because I know when I went through it was stressful, and I know especially with the COVID-19 situation, like they've really done a very impressive job of continuing that momentum. That's always been the case since I've been in ACT, and I know that, I mean, that's not the case since it started. I think that started around like 2014 maybe. I wasn't on campus at that time, but that's also like the culture of our college. I feel like a lot of our, especially in the College of Business at our school, like a lot of the organizations are competitive to get into. So it's not uncommon for us to have like 2 rounds of interviews. Like that's something most organizations have. And I think like that, the draw to Enactus is like, I don't have to do something that I don't necessarily enjoy to put on my resume to get a job. Like we have our alumni go on to do great things at a variety of different companies, and also like not necessarily corporations, like they work at nonprofits and stuff. So I feel like that's a sell that we don't really focus on, because we kind of really try to sell the social impact that we do. And that's like a bonus, but it's also like a very good secondary thing to have when it comes to recruiting. We do a lot of bonding. So we have like new member requirements. So it's a kind of like a program, right? Like there's like pillars. There's a professional, organizational, um, social, and just like a required foundational pillar. So in each category, they have to do like professional development stuff, just to like, because I feel like if you're developing personally and professionally, you'll bring that to the project just naturally. Socially, so like I think that a part of our success comes from our culture of like we don't just like work together; we're all like really good friends. And it just kind of helps it, like I feel free to say what I need to say about the direction of this project because I know that like we have this established relationship. um, so we do a lot of new member bonding like with the cohort. We kind of like get them to know each other, and that kind of helps with retention too. Like if I'm friends with everyone, I'm not going to want to leave as much. um, then with organizational, we make sure that they're involved in like you're staffed on a project, but we make sure that you have to like at least go to another projects like when they're working with the community. So you're kind of like have an understanding because like you're not always staffed in the same project semester to semester. So it helps them to be familiar with other projects. Um, and then foundational is just like them meeting with us. We kind of like mentor them. We make sure that they're acclimating well. If they're having any struggles with their classes or something, we make sure that we're accounting for that. So there's like a lot of like from a like a human resource perspective, like you're making sure that they're having a good experience because like we don't want this to feel like work, because it is a lot of times work. Like your entrepreneurship is hard, but I think like that aspect of making it a very enjoyable experience helps with retention and helps with people like keeping their passion up and their engagement up to make sure that we're kind of getting the best results possible. I think initially the thought was like, okay, we need to have like a more diverse class, major wise, background, but it doesn't happen very like it's not that it's not purposeful, but it doesn't happen very like we don't get to the end of our recruitment and say, oh, like this class is just business majors, we need to cut some and then add some more other majors. It happens actually very naturally, and I think the reason is the way we recruit when we're getting people to apply is like we're a business RSO, so a lot of our presence just is naturally in the college business. So maybe 50% of our applicants are business majors in general, and then all the other activities we do across campus at like the different quad days on different parts of campus bring in like a proportion amount, and then just naturally I kind of feel like at the end when we get our 12 to 15 people, they kind of reflect the proportion of the candidate pool. President, who oversees our executive board, which is made of 6 other people. So there's 3 executive managers and a vice president of membership who oversees like the newer program membership development, vice president of communication who oversees stuff like competition or like the expo and our media team. And we have a vice president of operations who oversees our finances and our operations team. And so the executive managers oversee all of the project managers, of which we have 9 projects, but some have like 2 project managers, so it's like 10 to 13 people. Um, and the way that project staffing works is the beginning of every semester we send out a project staffing form, a preference form. So you preference what project you want. Like I think you preference your top 3, and you give an explanation for each one of why you think you can add value to that project. And then based on all that information, the executive managers staff the teams according to preference and then skill. It's kind of like not a perfect science, more of an art, kind of like trying to make sure that you're giving the skills where they need to go, but then also the give people what they want so that they're having a pleasant experience. Our organization is usually around 70 to 80 people at any given time, depending on fall or spring. And then each project team, because we have so many other teams like media team and operations team, which just kind of are auxiliary support teams for our projects, project teams can run anywhere between 3 and like 8 people, depending on the need of the project, how new it is, how involved it is, like with hands-on work and production of stuff. So So one thing that we noticed, I think about 2 years ago, was that everyone, like every time you were on a project, like, the project was managed completely at the whim of the project manager, and going from one project to another could feel like a completely different organization. Like there was kind of no standardization. So there was a real push from our executive board to kind of standardize the best practices and the different forms and templates that we were using. So we started doing a project manager training, because I also feel like a lot of times people can go from a new member to project manager in that semester if they show a lot of promise. They're particularly passionate about the project that they're staffed on, because in addition to the new member program, you're also staffed on an existing project. So we found it necessary to kind of like provide a project manager training. So we kind of like looked up best practices of project managers, also crowdsourced best practices from people who have already done it in our organization. So a lot of our materials are very specific, because I know if you look up project manager stuff on like the internet, like there's obviously a wealth of information, but a lot of it is very specific to our culture, and then also our specific structure, like how do you manage organization where everyone's just best friends, like that's actually really complicated. It's tough to do. How do I have a very difficult conversation with you if we're also living together, because it's a common situation. So those are like conversations that we have, and like not necessarily we don't have like a guide for every single like kind of situation like that, but I think like after developing the training, what we found is like you're prepared in theory, but then when you're doing it, it's kind of hard. So then later on, we started doing like a PM roundtable or like portfolio meetings, because like every executive manager has a portfolio of a project. And so like you would like once a semester meet with them and kind of like they kind of talk about their experience. So like there's like knowledge sharing going on there. And I think like the standardization and the trainings all kind of help to retain knowledge, because I think a lot of times, like you said, if I come into the organization and I'm exceptionally good at my job, but I leave and I don't do anything to kind of transition this knowledge or like make it sustainable, then we're just waiting for the next, good leader to kind of come into the organization. So I think like that, like I'm not the one who started all of this. Like I don't take credit for that, and I won't be the last one. But I think like the efforts that we all put in to do that have really made our organization a lot stronger. I think for seniors, or like just upperclassmen in general, really investing in younger members, and really developing them is so important, because it it would be a shame. A lot of times our projects, well, other teams are different. A lot of times our projects last multiple semesters, sometimes even longer than I'll be in the organization. And it would be a shame if I left and my only impact was, the short time that I was here. I would like to have a legacy that lives within other people, rather than to my legacy being something I've done in this one stationary time period. So I think investing in younger members is the best way to kind of make sure that the impact that you're making on the community lives on through the way that you empower other people in your organization to make that impact as well. And then for younger members, I think like my advice is to be kind of to be curious. Like I feel like like I didn't learn all the things, like I said, now, like the fact that I'm a senior now, there are a lot of things that I wish I knew as a freshman. And if I was just a little more curious as a freshman to understand like the ins and outs of social entrepreneurship, I could have made a lot of better, more strategic product decisions as I was growing as a product manager and executive manager, if I had known that as a freshman. But it took me a lot more time to become like, oh, like actually, how does this work? How should I be doing this? How should I be making this decision? And a lot of it's just being a naive freshman. But if you can be more curious and kind of go out of your way to learn more things to make you a better leader and a better manager, and a better entrepreneur, that would really kind of make the difference on your project. Really, I would just say that Enactus to me, um, it's been a great being able to work with people in the community and just see the impact, the very small impact that I'm able to make in the time that I interact with them. but more so see the bigger impact that it made on me, not in any like, you know, career or advantageous way, but like more on the internal introspective way of how I interact with people, like what I've gained. And also like what Enactus as an organization has taught me about being um, a leader. And, you know, I feel like it's changed the way I think. Though, like we had like the need, input, output, outcome, and I feel like that is a problem solving model that changed the way that I think. And so like thinking about those little things, like my time in Enactus has been so valuable, and I'm just very happy to have been a part of it.